Good morning. It's my great pleasure to be here to deliver the talk on the cyber risk pricing. All right, so first look at the cyber incidents and also the cost trends over the years. So generally speaking, so like in the United States, every states are required, they created that breach laws, require the companies and to report the cyber incidents. I think in the Asian, some countries, they have the similar rules or laws ask the companies to report. But how they enforce this would be the problems. If you really look at the incidents, you can see from ITIC reports, there are many incidents. And also many people are just like receive the victim notice. So in terms of the financial impact by the cyber incident, you can see actually one incident can cost a lot of money. So this may be, if you try to understand this, you might want to ask why they cost so much. So this is quite different things for the cyber incidents. So generally, you might have, say, notice cost, lawsuit, particularly in US. So we have many lawyers, law firms. They wanted to look at the cyber incidents, and so they might create the classical lawsuit actions towards your companies. So then you might have to pay a lot of money. So particularly if you look at the United States, and so we have a $10 million average. So that's a lot of money. And of course, if you look at the cost in terms of the company size, for the small and medium companies, so the cost would be like around $264,000. But for the large enterprise, that's huge. So about $10 million. So look at the business interruptions. So generally speaking, you just can imagine this. If you are provide a service to many companies and many services, if you are down, so then generally it costs a lot of business interruptions. The cost would be huge. So then we look at the cyber insurance markets. So cyber insurance markets currently in 2024 is about $15 billion. But we are projecting it's going to increase 14% every year and up to 2030s. And so we are looking at $32 billion for the cyber insurance market. And so for the currently, the majority is still in the North America, is about 65% of the market. But in the next few years, we expecting the market will grow faster in the Asians. So I talked to some colleagues probably in China. So then generally last years, so they have some guidelines in the cyber insurance policies and also pushing towards the cyber insurance. So if you look at how the insurance companies doing in the United States, so those are the top 20 companies in the United States with their directly written premiums. And of course, you can see that's a lot of money. And also if you see the loss ratios with those companies, and so some of the companies are doing very well with controlling the loss ratios well below the 40%. But some of the companies are actually not doing so well. So some of them can do even over 80% of the loss ratios. So this is not a good sign with them. So if we look at which industry is most costly sector, so if you look at this, and so you can see the healthcare generally is the costliest sector. So this is easy to understand actually. So I believe probably if not all of the hospitals or clinics in the United States, they have the cyber insurance coverage. at least 80 or 90%. They do have this kind of coverage. Things they do have the HIPAAs and also the sensitive data informations. So then they need to protect. And of course, if they receive the ransomware attack, that would be a disaster. So then you can see the cost for the healthcare would be about $9 million. So that's a lot of money. On the right side, so this is actually something different from the traditional insurance. For the cyber risk, actually, we have the concept called the mean time to identify and the mean time to contain. So what's the meaning of this? It generally says if your company is breached, you may not immediately know the breach. So it might after a couple of months or sometimes even over the years, and you detect this breach. And of course, when you detect this breach, information is already breached or already have some damage over there. So the mean time to identify in 2025 is about 181 days. And so the mean time to contain is about 2 months for this. So the overall cycle is about 40 days for this. It's different features of the cyber risk. Talking about the AI risk, so our previous 2 speakers already mentioned this. So actually, things is really related to the cyber, and so then we can see the cyber incidents involves the AI models. We can look at those categories, and you do have the supply chain and the model inversions, and also prompt injections, and also the poisons, which simply means if you have the AI models, sometimes people can, based on the output, try to infer what kind of sensitive information was fed into your models. And so you also can manipulate the LLMs to produce the wrong results by feeding them with some wrong informations. So if you look at the impacts of the incidents on authorized AI, and so then you can see there are some operational interruptions, and also a reputational damage, and all of the related impact by the AI risk. So then if we're looking at the cyber risk, so generally speaking, in the North America, it's kind of becoming mature, but the pricing model is still developing. Although they have the different policies, try to help the regulations, try to help these industries, but pricing is still the issues. This is mainly caused by a couple of things. So generally, this is really cyber risk is fast-moving threats. Things particularly with the AI, actually, you can just write the code. And so using the hack tools, very easily to attack some systems. So the second would be the interdependence and also the accumulations. Things right now, many companies are doing the business by using the cloud. And so then the clouds, shared cloud systems, softwares, and also the third-party vendors, they do provide a service, and so they are all collected. So then the third one is actually the claim histories are limited. So there are some considerations. Probably companies may not be willing to report those kind of informations, although sometimes they are required to. But this is going to be some issues. And also we have the heavy tail losses. Things you could imagine if we do have one common vulnerabilities is just discovered by the hacker, if we have the zero-day vulnerabilities. And so then the huge damage can be caused for this. So then if we look at the insurance companies, how are they really pricing the cyber risk? So there are 3 main categories. One is the exposure views by simply look at the size, company size, and sector, revenues, and the records, vendors, and also their security controls. Try to look at this. The other ones is a little bit more advanced, try to use the scans. They have the scan tools to do the assessments of the security of these companies. In the United States, there are several companies, they provide this kind of service by providing the security reports to assess or give the scores of the companies, how security they are. So then the third one is about the scenario studies or stress testings. So this is probably just saying if a company is over there, and so try to look at if we included these companies into your portfolios, whether it was cause a lot of issues, if they can cause the companies in your portfolios sharing the risks. So this is the third ones, but they all have some limitations. Sometimes they need the control qualities or they need expert judgment on those. So if we check in their public rating of findings, actually, mathematically speaking, and so we can look at the pricing of formulas. One is the flat rate. It's pretty simple. Just fix premiums for the different coverage. And so by considering the frequencies, severities, and also the different loading ratios. The second one is by considering the hazard group, which means different sectors. So they do issue the different premiums and coverage limits and also the retentions. The third one would be the best rate based on the exposure-based premiums. And so then we adjust for the limits, retentions, and also the industry factors. And so the last one would be including some risk modifiers by looking at the claims histories, security controls, and sub-limits and policies, all of those kind of things. So if we put them together, and so then you can see it from here, these formulas are mainly used in the industries by looking at the coverage, look at what kind of modules they cover, saying the third-party liabilities or the fourth party. And so then the system interruptions for the sublines, and so they have the coverage limit and the things over there. So then they create the best premiums for the companies and for the different coverage modules. And so modify this by looking at the rating factors in terms of considering the limit, retentions, and etc. So in practice, so they also charge the minimum premiums. So they do have the minimum they want to charge for profit. So sometimes they do have the surcharge if the companies have some incidents over there. So one thing in practice we are looking at is just the scenario modules. So in a sense is when we look at the cyber insurance account, which means if you buy the cyber insurance, we create an account for you. But we do look at the portfolios. For one of the companies, we want to assess if this company try to buy the cyber insurance from us, we look at how dangerous if we include you into our portfolios, if we create your account. This is main consideration is whether you would cause the systematic risk or we would have some, for example, if you are a cloud provider, so whether you can cause my portfolios to have a huge loss by including you into my portfolios. So this is the problems. And of course, if from the portfolio funding levels, so for example, if you are the high ransomware aggregations, and so the possible response, we probably say, well, we will need you to have the high retentions and also create a tighter ransomware sublimit. And also we will need you to have a very strong security controls. So those kind of things. So this is actually when the insurance companies try to price the cyber risk, they need to consider the portfolio level risk as well. All right, so by looking at this, so those are the challenges we are looking at. So as I mentioned, is the dynamic threats, systematic accumulation risk, and extreme loss, and also and sparse data and the reporting bias. Things for the cyber incidents, generally we may not be able to know all of the incidents, particularly even for the reportings. So we do not know all of this. So then, just in terms of those kind of risk, we do some research on this part to address some of the issues. Say, just in terms of the dynamic risk and how can we do this, we propose probably should have some online models to assess the risk, which means you do not really have to deploy your models every 6 months or every 3 months. So we just deploy the models online over the cloud and try to let the models to update the risk when the information is coming. So if you look at this plot, generally is we are going to use the historical information to create the models, and by considering, and of course here there are some technical terms, marginal models, dependence modelings, and ensembles. And so then you put everything together. If some new information or new incidents is coming, so we update all of the parameters. So then we do not need the engineering to deploy your code models again. So it's automatically online updatings and try to produce the predictive risk for the insurance companies to use. So the second is probably in terms of the portfolio risk or systematic risk. And so then generally we consider there are dependence over there. Two kinds of dependence. One is the temporal and how it changes along the time. The others would be the sector informations. The different companies or different sectors, they do have this kind of dependence, because the cyber risk, we all know they have some kind of vulnerabilities. If it is over there, shared by those companies, they do create this kind of cross-sector dependence. And so for this kind of portfolio risk, and how can we consider this kind of dependence? If you do consider those companies' informations, like the company size, and revenues and histories, how do you throw all of those informations into the modelings? Well, generally, we would like to borrow the deep learning techniques. So this is just one example in our studies, and we created like encoder and also two decoders. By using the encoders, try to encode all of the company's levels informations into our model. And so then we try to use the decoders to create the frequencies and also the severities for the insurance companies. So by considering all of those companies' informations and histories, dependence, to put everything together. So here is some thoughts about the next generation's cyber insurance. Right now, we do have the cyber insurance companies. They provide the policies, but most of them are still based on like 6 months, 3 months, or 1 year policies. So everything changes fast with the AI. So here is actually for the next generation, I would say probably we would need to link the cyber telemetry and also the residual risk quantifications and price indicators, and also we can use the AI to draft the policies and to record everything on the blockchains. So we would settle everything on the smart ledger. So this is actually how can you really implement this by creating the near-term product designs. So generally speaking, is when for a company who wants to purchase the cyber insurance, we do like these companies to have like the network flow monitors, like IDS, EDRs. They can try to block some attacks risks. And so then after that, you do have the residual risk. And so this residual risk, we are going to price this, and we are going to insure this. So then we say you can do this monthly or 2 weeks or 3 months at the most. And so then we have this kind of policies coverage. So then you can do the monthly subscriptions or even do something like pay as you go, this kind of policies. All right, so let me conclude. So generally is current industries, they do realize on probably some rating tables and other exposure measures. AI actually can help by drafting all of the policies and so attract the informations, even the security controls. The modeling challenge is still over there. We still have to work on this. And also, of course, the future product is definitely should be AI assisted in the writings, preventions, and also the portfolio monitorings, governance pricing reviews. All right, I'm just going to stop here, and thank you.